Here we are. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Real Talk Fins Talk. I'm your host, Steve Molloy, and we have a special guest tonight. We have Courtney from Dolphin Diaries. Is that correct?
Diaries. Yep.
Dolphins Diaries. There we go. Sorry about that. And for you all that are out there, I'm so sorry. I went on ahead and I hit the outro as opposed to the intro. So that's why we had that little technical difficulty. But hey, we're here now. So that's all that counts, ladies and gentlemen. So Courtney, how have you been? And tell me what you've got going. I know you're back on your podcast, and you will be on the Fins Talk Sports Network. Give us that information and the times and things like that, and where people can find you.
Yeah. So I have been good, taking some time away to be with the family, and the boys had football season. So 5-6 days a week. I have been at some football fields, and just life has been crazy. But yeah, Diaries is moving from Dolphins Thirsty to Fins Talk Sports Network. Will be Mondays again, except next week my premiere will be Tuesday because my special guest needed a scheduling move around.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me on Instagram or X at doll_fan72. And I'm just posting. Just, you see me. I live tweet during the games. And otherwise, I'm just, whatever comes to mind will come through my fingertips. And we have fun. We have fun.
Gotcha. So what time is your premiere start next Tuesday?
To be at 8:00.
8:00. Is that going to be a solid 8:00 every Monday, or
it'll be Mondays at 8:00 most of the time? Like, that's the goal. Okay. But of course, I'm flexible if people need me to move it around.
Right.
But yeah, Mondays at 8, which is, like, I think a perfect time. We'll dissect the previous game. We can talk new game. We can just, and then it's going to transfer over. It'll become a Heat podcast once the Dolphins are done.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So we're just going to slide right through this time. But I can't do both at once.
Gotcha. Yeah, that would be kind of tricky for sure. Well, that's great, and it's great to have you back on, to see you on a podcast again, and also especially on the Fins Talk Sports Network, where I know everyone is happy for you to be part of the family again. I know I am personally. So appreciate you. I always appreciated your takes, and that's why I got you on tonight. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the Miami Dolphins win. They went out and up to out west, and they played against the Los Angeles Rams, and they shine. They beat them under the lights. So I'm specifically happy about that. I mean, we needed this win. I feel in my, the way I feel and the way I look at it, this was a must win for the Miami Dolphins. But before I go on, I want to thank everybody that's joined in the chat. I see Raphael's in here, Chef Jew. I appreciate everyone that's in the chat. Also, don't forget, make sure that you hit that like button, like. That's going to send that notifications out to the rest of the Dolphins out there that might want to catch the show. So make sure you hit that like button and appreciate it. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and then share with your friends, your families, and neighbor. Whatever platform you're on, please come over here and join the YouTube chat so you can join the family. And I love interacting with all the folks in the chat and making all the comments and all that. It keeps me going, and appreciate that. So, Courtney, we won. We finally won. So I'm really excited. How do you feel about the game?
I might be the minority here. I'm happy that we won. I'm nervous. I'm glad we needed it. There were all those rumors coming out that, like, vets were going to start sitting and getting all these crazy offseason surgeries, and the fan base was kind of losing its mind. I'm nervous, though, for consistency and for the draft. I don't want us to screw up potential draft positions. But I'm happy. I think it was like the biggest boost that we as fans needed.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. We needed this shot in the arm for sure. For sure. You know, a little hopium doesn't hurt. It really doesn't. It really doesn't, you know, and I definitely needed it. You know, because I come on the podcast and you know, I give everyone a dose of reality. And I was having to slap myself in the face to give myself a dose of reality because I just couldn't believe, you know, the start of the season, how it began. And I want to get your perspective on how were you feeling before this game the other night?
Numb. I think
Yeah.
we all off season, we as fans were thinking, oh, we're going to win our first playoff game. It's playoff game. It's winning a playoff game or bust. Coming off last season, it was we're going to win a playoff game. And so to then be at 2-6 and
Mhm.
two going down, and I think all of it, we as fans were shell shocked. It's definitely not the season that anybody thought we were going to have. So I think that I started to just become numb to the losses. And I was like, well, you know, I have a lot going on in my life anyway. So maybe I'll just casually watch the Dolphin games now. Oh, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll go food shopping while the Dolphins are playing. Like, I think we definitely just needed something because I think we were just, no, that's all I was.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you looked at the schedule at the beginning of the season,
Yeah.
how did you feel? How did you feel? Did you feel pretty confident that the Miami was going to well, let's put it this way. What did you project their record to be at the beginning of the year, or did you make a prediction like that?
I didn't really make a prediction, but I was looking at least 11 wins.
Mhm.
Conservatively, like 11 wins to me was like average. So to be sitting here with 3,
Yeah, it's
what?
yeah, absolutely, and I'm with you. And I heard this on the show the other night on the Finstock Sports Network. I think it was Evan Posner on the post game show. He said, you know, he's usually really uppity and positive and everything, and one way or the other, you know, and sometimes negative. But you know, he just says, I feel numb. I just feel numb. He says, "That's the way I'm feeling." And when I yeah, and when I thought about that, I said, "Wow, you know, he's completely correct." I feel numb, and I'm sure a lot of fans were feeling numb at that point as well. But you know, with this win, you know, I do feel I got that little boost, you know, that little hopium boost, a little shot in the arm. But you know, after some you know, thought after the game, specifically today.
Yeah.
Now it's back to reality, right?
Yeah.
And we're still 3-6. We have a long road ahead of us. We still have 8 games left. Um, this was a good win. Again, it was a good win. I was very surprised the way that this defense just, you know, started to blossom the last couple of games. And now I know that the Los Angeles Rams, now some folks are going to say, well, you know, Los Angeles Rams are a mid team. True, they are a mid team and they're a 500 team.
Yeah. Well, they were.
So, well, they were. Yeah, they were. But here's the deal. Here's the deal. Going back, hey Evan, how you doing, brother? And Evan's in the house. Uh, Planty Snatchers in the house. Appreciate you joining. 305 Sports Now is in the house. I appreciate all of you joining tonight. Appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like button. But yeah, going back to the game and saying that they're a mid team and everything. The defense still had a great game. But the point I was going to get to was we haven't beaten, with the exception of the Dallas Cowboys. And then that the offense really wasn't that good in that game. They only scored 5 field goals, 1 touchdown by the defense. So what I mean by we haven't beaten a 500 team since 3 years ago when we beat the Buffalo Bills in Hard Rock Stadium. Have not beaten over a 500 over team. Dallas was the team that we beat that was a 500 over team. But when I'm talking about not beating a 500, team over team, I mean this offense. This offense has not been playing up to what I believe its potential. Right.
Right.
Now, I know Tua was hurt for 4 games this year. I know he was hurt not last year, but he was hurt the year before. So, look, when Tua's behind the line of scrimmage on this offense, he's definitely better operator than Skylar Thompson, Tyler Huntley, or any of those guys. But that's another story, right? And a backup quarterback. Really, when we have a franchise quarterback that we just paid over $200 million a year for, and we've got to talk about having a good backup quarterback, because that's what's going to happen next year. We're going to have to get a backup quarterback, right? Because I don't think, and I wasn't one to say that we need to run it. I mean, to blow it up. I know, 2-3 games ago, everybody said, "Oh, we need to blow it up. We need to fire this guy. We need to let this guy go. We need to make all these trades and all." I wasn't for that. I wanted for us to just play it out, see how it's going, and so far, like I said, I'm very happy that we won, and let's see where we go from here. How about you? What do you say?
Chris Greer needs to be fired yesterday. He's on my hate train. Danny Crossman still needs to be fired. We're like 4 years too late on that one. I'd like to point out, I got a lot of flack in the offseason about this, but I had said specifically when we needed a veteran backup quarterback in case Tua goes down. And I wanted Russell Wilson before Pittsburgh picked him up. And I was like, he would be great. And people went after me about, you can't bring in competition for Tua and you don't need a backup. And then he went down. We had nothing but incompetent backups. We really didn't have a veteran presence back there, unless you consider Skylar Thompson the most veteran presence on your team. And we shot ourselves in the foot because everybody was too worried about, who am I going to hurt? Whose feelings am I going to hurt? We don't need that. Like, you need to always have a contingency plan. And the Dolphins got caught without a contingency plan. And listen, Raph, I am going to listen. Do we want to talk about our corners? Because I'm still pissed off about Xavier Howard. Fuller is not the younger, better Xavier Howard that I was promised. And I'm going to put that out there right now.
Well, he's similar. He's similar. He gets hurt.
Yeah, that's not it. The only thing, the biggest problem with this team, though, I think week in and week out, is consistency. And discipline and consistency. But I understand and I sympathize with the blow it up people, because I agree that we can't end the season and nothing change. Even if we end up like mid-tier, like 9-7, things need to change. You cannot go into next year the same way. And if heads have to roll, heads have to roll.
Yeah. No, and you talked about discipline. Well, last night they only had one penalty. I mean, this was the best game that we played as far. Well, I don't think we had many penalties last game either against the who the hell did we play last? Forgot. Before Los Angeles Rams. Who did we play? We
played oh my God.
I just had a brain fart.
I blacked out. We just finished playing. Who did we play? I'm getting the U and the Dolphins confused. Hold on.
Buffalo. That's right.
We lost.
How can we? Thank you. Buffalo Bills rule. Buffalo Bills rule.
I knew it, but I was like,
yeah.
I wanted to say a college team, and I was like, wrong team. Listen.
Yeah. Anyway, I just had a brain fart. Anyway,
I'm done with it. This year, once it's over, I'm done. It's blacked out. I've gone through it all.
I hear you. But you said discipline, but yeah, they did. They played a disciplined game against the Buffalo Bills as far as penalties go. Now I know the fumble hurt big time, and McDaniel he's actually benched Mostert. I mean, he had a couple nice pass catches the other night, but other than that, he didn't run the ball very much. And so he also benched Long, David Long. And in fact, we just picked up another linebacker
I saw that.
from the Seattle Seahawks. In fact, let me get his name here real quick. I have it down here in my notes. And Tyrell Dotson. He played with the Seahawks. If we all remember, he had that sack against Skylar Thompson when we played Seattle.
Oh, did he? I didn't know it was him.
Yeah, he's a young linebacker. He's so far this year he's had 71 tackles, 5 for loss, and he's had 2 sacks, and he's had 2 passes defensed, and 1 forced fumble. So to me, it sounds like he's a solid pickup. He's a solid pickup. So, let's see. The defense is getting better, but the offense is not. I mean, it's gotten better since Tua took the helm, but for how they played the first year when McDaniel was the coach, nowhere near that. Not even nowhere near last year. So, and I agree with you as far as Chris Greer goes. Okay, I want this year to play out, but even if we go 8-9 or 9-8, I'm just afraid. I'm really afraid that Stephen Ross is going to say, and Chris Greer is going to talk to Stephen Ross, and he's going to tell Stephen Ross, hey, we need to tweak a couple of things here and there. We need to add a couple pieces here and there. We're going to be fine, and we're going to get a good backup quarterback for Tua. So everything's going to be great, and we're going to go on a run to the Super Bowl or whatnot. That's what I'm afraid that's going to happen, because I'm with you. I want Chris Greer to be gone like yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay. He's been in this organization too long, over 20 years. He's been, since 2016, officially, he has been the GM. Now, has he made some good picks? Yes. But he's made more bad picks than he has good picks. Okay. And he just needs to go. Now, what I want them to do is I want them to bring in a GM that knows the X's and O's about football, a hard-nosed guy that tells Ross, just stay out of my office. You do your thing. Provide me the resources that I need. I'll run your organization, and let him take over. Let him take over the helm, and hopefully, he works out. And then let him decide whether he wants Mike McDaniel or not, or Tua, or whoever else. Let him make those decisions. So that's what I would like to see at the end of the year. But going forward, Courtney, how do you see this football team going forward?
I don't even know at this point. I'm hoping that the defense stays hard and strong, and they were bullies last night. They were really finally some bully ball that I was hoping that Weaver would bring over from Baltimore. If McDaniel never calls another screen, I think it would be too soon. I think I was flipping out last night. I was on X. I was like, we just need to run the ball. I think that, this team needs to just go back to basics and stop doing the cute stuff and just get her done. But I'm hoping that we're building something. I'm hoping that the momentum has shifted and that we're starting to get better. But I do know that it would be really nice to see complete complementary football. I don't feel like I saw that still last night. I feel like, the defense really carried us. The score, if it was complementary football, we would have scored more than 23 points. Like, we would have scored on almost every possession. I mean, we were shooting ourselves in the foot. Tua was making stupid mistakes, taking sacks for like negative 15 yards instead of just throwing the ball away. So I'm really hoping that it builds from here and that they realize their mistakes and get forward. But I'm really hoping that defense keeps it up, because I really haven't seen them shoot on all these cylinders all season. Like, this is probably the first time. And we still don't even have Chubb back yet. I don't know if that's ever happening. And we're still missing a couple pieces, so it'll be nice when that's healthy and we can really see what it can do.
Yeah, I agree. I think this defense is as far as what I've seen, thus far, this defense is going to have to do a lot, for the offense this year because look, we just paid Tyreek Hill. We gave him as an extension, right? So he could have his guaranteed monies. We just paid Waddle. We just paid Tua. What the hell is Waddle doing in Tua? I mean, in not Tua, but Tyreek. They've been terrible this year. Terrible. And when you're paying those guys that kind of money, you expect them to be catching the ball a lot more. And Tyreek scored his first touchdown last night. And Waddle, he had a decent game, but then he had that drop that Tua threw a perfect dime to, and he had to drop. And it's just ridiculous, Achane is great. Achane is going to be a dynamic running back for us. I think Jalen Wright's going to be pretty good for us. But going forward, we got the oldest team in the NFL right now, and I don't know. Is Calais Campbell going to be back next year? Is Poyer going to be in the back next year? Is May going to be back next year? What are we going to do about Javon Holland? He's still under his 5th year, right? How about Jalen Phillips? Is he going to be 100% when he gets off his injury next year? Chubb, we may not even have Chubb next year. And if he does come back, whether it be this year or next year, he's been out over a year. We got a lot of stuff that we've got to do in the offseason, and the problem is folks are not realizing it. I know we're going a little bit ahead, but I'm just putting things in perspective. There's a lot of these players that are on this team on defense are not going to be here next year. A lot of the players on offense are not going to be here next year. Robert Jones is hurt. We don't know when he's going to come back. He got hurt in the game last night, right?
I thought I saw that he was out for the season.
I don't know. Austin Jackson is out for the season. He's getting a surgery on his knee, so he's definitely out for the season. Kendall Lamb already said he's going to retire next year, and he's backing up Austin Jackson. And then we've got Liam Eichenberg. He don't belong in his team. I'm sorry, he doesn't. He gets a lot of help by his peers, but other than that, he cannot take anybody on one-on-one. He just can't. He's been here for 4 or 5 years, and he can't do it. He's still on his ass every game. He'll make a few blocks here and there. Of course, he's an NFL player, right? But so a lot of these players are not going to be on this team next year. Hell, I was going to say either Tyreek or Waddle might even be gone. Who knows? But I gotta say, Tua Tagovailoa still isn't playing up to his $220 million, whatever it is, contract, but he had a really good game last night, even though he fumbled and he's got the sacks and all that. And a couple of them were his fault, holding on to the ball, backing up, like you said, 15 yards, not making the right decision there, just throwing it away or whatever, going down, right, where he was at. Now he made a couple good plays off script, but he doesn't do that and it's been 2 games in a row that he's made a couple nice plays off script, but he's not consistent. That's not his forte. He can do it, but he doesn't do it like Mahomes, like a freaking Josh Allen, like a Lamar Jackson. He's none of those guys, and we know that. But he did play a hell of a game last night. He didn't lose it for us. And he kept the drives alive, and he did good enough for us to win. So I can't say anything bad about him. He had a good game. Made some really nice off-script plays, as I said, and a couple of nice throws, few nice throws. And he's given what the defense, he's taken what the defense gives him, basically. Now you mentioned about the screens. I agree with you. Those screens, when they throw, I'd rather see them throw the ball 2 or 3 yards ahead past the line of scrimmage, then 2 to 3 yards behind. Because as you saw it and I saw it, right? Los Angeles Rams weren't buying that. They weren't buying it.
There's
They just
penetration before the ball is even snapped. I mean,
it,
nothing can form behind the line. We don't have it. You need an offensive line to have a screenplay, and we don't have the line for the screen. And so we're just shooting ourselves in the foot every single time. And then they kept doing the end arounds with Achan, and finally he started seeing production with a couple pitches and just going up the middle, because again, we don't have the blocking. Julian Hill, first of all, he is my Eli Apple of the season, because for all that everybody says, he did absolutely nothing other than getting penalties. I watched him like not even try to block, like just stand there like a fucking scarecrow, and like wasn't trying to make a play. And like, if you're going to do these things and you're going to run behind him, then we really missed Ingold in those moments.
Yeah.
But you have to have somebody who's going to make the play, make the block, get the hole, get you those valuable 1 to 2 seconds. And we didn't have that. And it was showing. And I think that the whole entire NFL knows that the Dolphins are going to run at least 70% screenplays on the offensive unit. And so almost every defense is ready for it. They know. McDaniel is notorious for screens. Notorious.
Yeah.
So that's why I say get back to basics. Get a pounding run game. Wright had some good things. Even Malik Washington really impressed me. Maybe if Hill and Waddle aren't getting it together this year, let's start giving the rookie some reps. Someone who's young, hungry, and wanting to prove themselves. Because you got to change it up at this point. The offense needs to get into another gear. I mean, the Broncos 70-yard game feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, you're right, and I think they are making those changes gradually. They're taking on a new face. You can see it. You can see they are taking on somewhat of a new face. Now, you talked about the running game, and I agree we need to pound the rock more. But the problem is, and you mentioned it, you hit the nail on the head. We don't have the personnel on the O-line to do that, as far as power blocking and that kind of thing. And to be quite frank with you, I like Jalen Wright. Okay, he's not a power back. No. He's more powerful. He's a more power back than Achan or Mostert. I mean, Mostert, but he's not a power back. He's a one-cut runner. He's not shifty. He's not shifty and elusive as Achan. And Achan has some good shiftiness to him, and he can break some tackles because of this. He knows how to find that hole, how to shit, and how to good vision is basically what he has, and he has that speed. But the reason why our running game did not prosper the other night was because our O-line was getting bullied all night by rookies. But by Verse, he was drafted in the first round by the Los Angeles Rams, and he's just a very good, big, tough bully, right? And that's what happened to our line last night. And until we get that right, because this whole construct, right, this whole construct of this team has been ass backwards. Instead of building from the D line, the O line, and then out, they built it from the outside in. And that's not sustainable, especially in the NFL today, because they're going more to a pass balance team, like you said, the running in the inside and all that, as opposed to the pass happy league that it used to be. And that's just the way it is. It's changing. And Chris Greer didn't see that. He didn't have the vision to see that. So get him the hell out.
Yeah, no, I agree. The joke of our fan base is that you're more worried about the offensive line than we are. Yeah. Every year, it's I was screaming all during the draft, like, we need a lineman, and obviously Chop is finally starting to come into himself, and he had a tremendous game last night.
Yes, he did. He had a good game, really good game,
phenomenal.
Yeah,
but that, and I'm glad he's proving himself. But we still didn't address the O-line. And as great as your defense is, you're not going to win games if you're not putting up the points. So the defense is great to stop and to, maintain a balance of the score, but you need that O-line and you need that offense to put up the points. Because I'll tell you right now, those 23 points aren't going to beat Mahomes. They're not going to beat Lamar. They're not going to beat, they didn't beat the Bills. I mean, it was like we were close there for a bit, but like even the Steelers, who are, kind of hot right now, they're averaging 23 points a game. I mean, you're not going to win these games against this high level competition, putting up low numbers of points. And it's very hard in this league to have a defense that's going to completely shut out your opponent. Shutouts are hard. So they're going to let up some points. You need to trust the offense, and I don't trust our offense right now. And I'm starting to trust our D-line. Our secondary, Evan said it as well. Our secondary is a nightmare. Those linebackers, that middle of the field is a dangerous place to be. But last night I saw some hope that we were starting to finally get the guys in. They're getting pressure. Stafford just couldn't get anything going. But
yeah, absolutely.
But winning the games, it's going to come down on the offensive line, the offense. It's going to come down to it, and that's unfortunately the one place that everybody that's where I feel like this is why everybody hates Chris Greer, is because they always act like we, the fans, are idiots and like we don't know what we're talking about, because we're not, like, we're watching the same games. We're analyzing. There's some guys on here who break down film tremendously. My 7-year-old can see it. I mean, it'd be different if they weren't laughing in our faces, telling us like, you guys are worried for nothing. No, we're worried because we can see that you've done nothing. And then you're too proud, Chris Greer, to actually admit, I may have fucked up.
Yeah, true. I agree with that 100%. And hopefully Ross sees that, because he's the man. He's the one that's going to have to make that call. I'm hoping he sees that next year, regardless of whether we, win out or not. We've got to make some changes, because even if we did win out, right? Even if it's a miracle we do win out and we go to the playoffs, we're not going to win in the playoffs. Like you said, you mentioned it. We're not going to beat Mahomes. We're not going to beat Lamar Jackson. We're not going to beat Buffalo. We're not going to beat those guys. I mean, those teams are way far ahead of us. Look at Tampa Bay, way far ahead of us. Look at Houston. Just watch them when you watch them play. Detroit Lions, teams like that.
Yeah.
They're really built well, and they've only been building for a couple of years at most, 2-3 years. Us, this is going on 7 years. And then no playoff win for 24 years since Chris Greer has been with the Miami Dolphins. Whether he was in the scouting or in the office, he was still here, and he was still part of this team.
What if he's the jinx?
What's that?
What if he is the jinx? He is the bad omen. He's the bad juju. I'm just putting it out there. And maybe it's not the stadium. Maybe it's the man in the stadium.
Yeah. You got a good point. You got a good point for us Dolphin fans that are suspicious out there, right? I mean, they have a lot of suspicion, but I don't know. Superstitious. That's what I meant. Yeah. Thank you for that correction. Appreciate it. I knew I got you on here for some reason. No, I'm only kidding. But anyway, as we kind of got sidetracked, but moving forward, how do you see the Miami Dolphins? And what I'm going to do, I have the remaining games here, so I'll go over the remaining games. What I like for you to do, Courtney, is you tell me if you think it's going to be a win or a loss. Okay. So the next 2 games that we play will be at home. So that's a good thing at Hard Rock Stadium. We play the Oakland. I want to say Oakland. We play the Los Angeles Raiders.
They're 2-7. That's a win.
Okay.
I think that's a doable win.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely think we're going to be winning.
I don't want to get ahead of myself, but
Yeah. If we don't win next week, then yeah,
So I said
we're
it
our
depends on which version of the Dolphins we get.
exactly. I agree. I agree 100%. And then after that, we have the Pats coming back. Patriots coming back to the Hard Rock Stadium the next game. How do you see that going?
I think that's winnable, very winnable.
I believe so too. So going into Thanksgiving, right in the late November, we should be 5-6, right? That's the way I see it, and I think you agree. We should be 5-6
Yeah, theoretically.
now, theoretically. Now, after those two games, we've got to fly up to Lambeau Field and play the Green Bay Packers in their stadium at night in the cold weather. And you're probably, and we don't know what the conditions are going to be. We know it's going to be cold, 25, 30 degrees, maybe colder in the evening. But we don't know if it's going to be raining or snowing or whatnot. How do you see that game going?
I'm leaning towards loss.
Yeah, me
But
too.
it's just the cold, the prime time. I have PTSD from being a Dolphins fan. I want to be cautious with that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'm gonna call it a loss. I'm gonna call it a loss.
Yeah.
Um, what did Lo-Fi say? Raiders had a big shakeup. They're playing for jobs that could be a buffer game. What?
It
A
could be a
tougher
tougher
game
game than the record shows. Yeah.
than the record shows. Yeah, I agree. But I just don't think they have the talent or the personnel uh, compared to our football team. That's got to be a win. Okay, it's got to be a win.
Okay.
But anyway, going back to the Packers, I guess we both agree that that's probably a loss. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
based on past history, right? As far as playing good teams, because
Correct.
that's the way it's been for the last two years, right?
Right.
Well, 3 years, going on 3 years here. All right, then we come back to the house. We come back to Hard Rock Stadium, and we play the Jets.
That's win.
Yeah, I agree. That should be a win.
Okay.
Then we play the Jets, and then we're going to be heading to the game that I will be attending, the Houston Texans at home in their house. And now the stadium is indoors, so we have no problems with weather or conditions.
I think we have the potential to pull it off, but it's going to be a close game because I really think CJ Stroud is an upcoming star.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a game that we're really going to have to rely on our defense. That's going to be Chop's going to have to play the way he played last night.
Yeah, for sure. Because and Texans have a good defense,
Mm-hmm.
so they really do. And for that matter, the Packers have a decent defense too, and they're going to be flying around. They're going to be playing for playoff, and it's going to those two games are going to be tough. Packers and the Texans. I agree. Then we fly back home again, and then we've got to play the 49ers in our house.
I can't bet against Nick Bosa.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I thought you had a crush on Xavier Howard. Now it's Bosa?
No. It's always been. I love Xavier Howard's play, but Nick
Oh,
Bosa.
okay. I got you.
As soon as he realizes I exist, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over for everybody else. It's over. No, the 49ers are just they're headed back to the playoffs. They know how to win games.
Yeah.
It is the mother tree that McDaniel fell off of and is trying to plant himself.
Yeah.
Even though they have their flaws as well, I think they do it better than McDaniel is trying to do it.
Yeah, and they're like they can play finesse, they can play bully ball, and they can change their colors is what I'm saying,
Yeah.
right?
They
They
know
have
how to win. They know how to get to
they
the
know how
post.
to win.
They
Yeah.
have it. They can do it. We're not there yet.
I agree 100% on that. So we play the 49ers at home. Then we've got to fly up to another cold weather game. Again, we don't know the conditions. We know it's going to be cold as hell. We're playing the Cleveland Browns in their house. Another night game.
That's winnable.
Winnable? Okay. All
With
right.
everything going on with the Browns, yeah.
Yeah, I say that's a 50-50. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. 50-50. All right, let's say we win that one. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And then the last game of the season is an away game and be cold.
Yep.
It's going to be playing the New York Jets, and it depends. The way I see it, it depends on how we play them in and I was going to say the Orange Bowl. It depends on how we play them in Hard Rock Stadium. When they're in our house.
Yeah.
I think it's going to depend on how we play them there and how they do the next couple of games. Next 2 or 3 games before we even play them again after the Packers game. So we'll see, but should be a win, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I'll call it a win. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'll call that one a win. And so basically, what we're looking at is 8-9 season. If everything goes according to how we projected it right now, that'd be 3 losses to the 49ers, the Packers, and maybe the Texans.
Okay.
Only because those the Texans and the Packers are away, and the 49ers is a home game. But as you just stated, it's going to be tough to beat the 49ers. So that's
Yeah.
3 losses. That puts us at 8-9. And as I said, going back to what we were talking about is, are they going to make any changes at 8-9? I don't think so. That's just my take. I don't think Ross is going to do it. I think Chris Greer will be the general manager if we go 8-9 or 9-8. The only way that I see that they make any changes in this football team. Now, I'm not talking about personnel, player personnel. I'm talking about all the office folks, right?
Yeah.
Greer, McDaniel, any of the other coaches or front office or whatnot. The only way they're going to make changes is if we go 6-11 or maybe even 7-10. But if we go 8-9 or 9-8, I think the hopium is going to still be running high during the offseason because Chris Greer is going to make those little moves, those shiny toy moves that he makes, picking up a couple good players, decent players, and everybody's going to be back on the hopium addiction again. That's just my take, And
Yeah.
that's another thing. Another thing I wanted to say, Courtney, too, was Armstead may not be here next year either.
Yeah.
And that's who's his replacement? Patrick Paul. And Patrick Paul hasn't seen a lot of the field at all. I mean, I know he came in a couple plays last night, but
He's too unrefined. I mean,
yeah.
he's not ready. So why
Mhm.
my problem with 8-9 is I think it'll be a problem for Ross going from the last 2 seasons of, making the playoffs and, getting, first round losses. But kind of like this is to get like to see that you, like the last 2 seasons we were building, we got to the first round, we lost. We got back to the first round, lost again. But like it seemed like we were getting better each time. Now it just felt like we fell off a cliff. But that's why I'm so torn, is because I was torn between like, screw it, let's not win another game, let's get 3rd, 4th in the draft, and like let's build this bitch back up. And then because now it's like, say we end at 8-9, okay, now we're picking like what, 15, 13?
Yeah,
Like,
somewhere in the middle. Middle of the pack.
We're not going to get those top level talent early on that we really need, specifically, hopefully, linemen. Potentially, we're still going to have Greer to draft these. See, my thing with Greer is that like he doesn't draft terribly, but he's not retaining the talent that we drafted. Look at Gink. Like we're drafting guys, and then you can't retain the talent that you're discovering, that you're finding. Like the fact that we is unforgivable that we didn't keep Wilkins or Van Ginkel. You're just letting it all go, and we have nothing. Now we have nothing to show for it. So it's almost like his retention is a problem.
Yeah.
Also, Rifleman, Buffalo Bill's rule has been very nice. He's not trolling, I promise. He's being, if he was being a problem, I would be the first one to call him out because I ain't got time for the trolls.
Yeah, go. We anybody that wants to come and join the show and wants to join our chat is welcome. Bills fans, Patriot fans, I don't care. Long as they're respectful, I have no problem with anybody joining the chat.
Yeah, Greer, Lo-Fi is right. Greer drafts projects; they take time, but then he gets rid of them. We invest the time. We build these guys up. We get them to where they go, and then we let them go sign somewhere else. And then we are left to go find another diamond in the rough. And that's the frustrating part. So I am going to buy a Fire Greer shirt, and I'm going to hope. Listen, I have a large feeling that my vendetta against Fangio is part of the reason why he's gone this year. So maybe I just need to go harder for Greer. Because I feel like Ross really listened to me last year. Because we don't have Eli or Fangio. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Talking about Fangio, I know he was your favorite defensive coordinator, but I have a feeling. Oh, I don't have a feeling. I know he was right about Cam Smith. Smith stinks. He stinks.
Yeah.
He's good. He's good. He can cover. He's a good cornerback. You know, if the guy's going straight, you know, a straight route or something like that, but if the guy makes a move or cut or wiggle or whatever, he leaves Cam Smith behind. He just does, man. He doesn't he doesn't have the burst. He doesn't have the burst, or he doesn't have the he just doesn't have the burst or the quickness to keep up with these wide receivers.
But here's my question: is do you think sitting him last year benefited, or is part of the reason why he's struggling this year?
I think it's both. I think both. I mean, we had to sit him because he's always hurt.
Yeah.
See, that's another thing. He's unreliable. You know,
well, honestly, that's our entire team.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
I think it comes down to our training staff needs to go. I think that there's definitely a flaw.
Well,
with the staff, if the amount of injuries that this team has, didn't Cam Smith, wasn't he just talking to reporters and went down with like a spasm or something? Like, I really think that it's our training staff. There's a problem with the conditioning. I think that we have a serious conditioning problem.
Yeah. Well, and to piggyback on what you just said, okay. Christopher Jones would like to see Bonner. Yeah, okay. He's another guy that we haven't seen a lot of him, you know, but
he's hurt too.
Yeah, he was hurt. Yeah, he was hurt. He was. I don't know if he still is or not. But anyway, to go back to your point about the conditioning and everything, I don't know if it's so much on the trainers. Now, this is just my take. Could be wrong, right? I don't think it's so much on the trainers. I think it's on number one. I think it's on Chris Greer just picking up injured players. You know, Bradley Chubb, right? Everybody was all high and mighty. We got Bradley Chubb. We paid him all this money. But after we drafted him, I went and checked his injury history. He was injured. Terran Armstead, injured. You know, all these guys that we picked up are with the exception of Tyreek, and he's injured now, but with the exception of Tyreek and some of these other players, most of these players had an injury history even before they came to the Miami Dolphins. Jalen Phillips, he had an injury history in college. He retired in college because of his concussions and the injury history he had. You know, so what do you expect, right? Here's another thing. Not only do I think I don't think it's the trainers, and I think a lot of it has to do with the Chris Greer picking up injured players, but we don't practice hard at all. I'll give you an example. We don't condition our football players for game ready, okay? And here's what I mean by that. Dave Hyde, he's one of the beat reporters I like. He's one of the ones that I like. Not too many that I like, but he's one of the ones that I like. He's very, you know, um, to the point, realistic guy, right? Fair. He went to these practices and he was talking primarily about the Atlanta Falcons practice. He was at that practice.
Okay.
He was at a couple others too, but he doesn't make every practice, but he makes a majority of them. But here's the thing. He said the Miami Dolphins, after practice, they were taking off their stuff, pads, everything, laughing and joking and lollygagging and walking off, going back into the locker room or whatever, right? The facility. Atlanta Falcons were running sprints after practice. Still had their pads on, still had everything on, and they were going at 100% running sprints. Miami Dolphins, the culture that Mike McDaniel, and whether you like him or not, and I like Mike McDaniel as a coach, right? As a play caller.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like his situational awareness out there on the field. It's terrible. Play calling, a lot of it has to do with the execution of the players and the personnel he has. That's why we're not making a lot of those, like you said, those screen passes and things like that. It would work if we had an O-line, right? We had some blockers in front of these players. But here's the thing I don't like about him. He rests these players. Tyreek, he comes 40. Now, of course, he doesn't have to practice a lot, right? But he's a guy that comes in 45 minutes after practice starts and just lollygags in and plays 5 or 6, snaps, and he's gone. That's it. Yeah, a lot of these players, Terron Armstead doesn't practice at all. He didn't practice one time all last year. And if you look at the injury reports, look at all these veterans that are getting rest. They don't even practice. So I think a lot of that has to do with the NFL ruling about, contact during, off-season conditioning, and also the Miami Dolphins. They take it to the extreme. And it's not like that around the league. It's not. I think Chris Perkins said he was talking to another guy that is on a beat reporter. He said that he was talking to some folks around the league, other NFL teams and other beat writers that are there, and he was asking about how do these other teams practice? Do they get rest days? Do they have light practices? Do they, players just come in as they want and they please and all that? He said, no. He said, a lot of these other teams, they're out there practicing, giving it 100%. They don't go half speed. I mean, they're practicing, not 100%, but 80, 70, 80%, speed. Miami Dolphins and it's not working. It's not working. A lot of things are not working for this Miami Dolphins football team. And I'm with you. We've got to change. It all starts with Chris Grier. All starts with Stephen Ross, but we're not getting rid of him. So
no.
The next best thing is he's just got to grow a pair, and just say, you know what, Chris, thank you for your service, but it's not, we've got to go another direction. That's my opinion.
Well, the problem, I think, though, is would you be okay with it? Because if they get a new GM, you have to do a full rebuild. Because not a lot of potential GMs are going to want to come in and keep everything the same. They're going to want to bring in their own guys, their own personnel. So you would have to be ready to blow it up. I mean, buy McDaniel, buy Weaver. I'd be cool with Crossman. I'll pack his shit for him.
Oh yeah, Crossman's got to go.
But you would, if we do this, if we get rid of Chris Grier, which I think it's a consensus, I have not seen a single Dolphin fan that wants to keep him. You have to be ready to blow it up, and probably really we're going to look at more seasons like this, I would say, for 2 to 3 years. During a complete overhaul rebuild, you're looking at absolute misery for about 3 years.
Yeah, for sure. That's I don't know, but based on what you just said and everything, yeah, normally that's how it works, right? You get rid of the GM and then the coach is gone, and some of the top tier players that we've some of these fans, Dolph fans, have grown to love. Right,
Mhm.
Tyreek Hill, Waddle, maybe even Tua Tagovailoa. Don't people think, oh, he's got this big contract, they're not gonna let him go. Don't be surprised. You let the GM go. Bye.
Yeah. I'd be
So
okay with
I
Terry.
agree.
I'd be okay with Terry going. Waddle would hurt. I'm not gonna lie. I'm emotionally attached to Jalen Waddle. His little fins for the win
Right.
after every win.
He's a good kid.
Yeah. I think that would hurt just on a personal level because I like him as a human.
Mhm.
So that that one would hurt. But yeah, I think that's the thing as fans is we have to be ready. Be ready, emotionally ready, because if it happens, it's not going to be pretty. But
Right.
I do think we need to get. There's no way that Chris Greer. I don't know if I can go through another draft with him. I don't know if I can trust him. He hasn't built what I needed him to build. Why are we just going to keep giving him years and drafts and money? Yeah, the Waddle celebration is iconic. I think that it's just universally like the most wholesome. I'm taking the Waddle over the Gritty any day.
Yeah, same here. My grandkids do the Waddle. They do the Waddle.
I love it.
But anyway, so Courtney, I really appreciate you having you on tonight. It was really great to you being part of the family again. And could you please tell everybody where they can catch you and at what time your show will premiere with the Finns Talk Sports Network?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great coming back. It was full circle because I think you were the first podcast, you and Rob, when I started out last year. So it's kind of a full circle moment. But you can catch Doll's Diaries this time on Finns Talk Sports Network. It's going to typically be Mondays at 8, but next week is my premiere episode. It'll be the 19th. That is going to be Tuesday at 8 p.m. And I'm really excited. I'll announce closer to that date who my guest is, but it's somebody that I'm very, very excited to have on and have not had on yet.
Great. Looking forward to it, Courtney. Again, I appreciate you. And before we sign off, I wanted to. Do you want to have a prediction for the game? Do you have a prediction for the game next week?
No. If you recall, the last time me and Rob did predictions, I think it was with you too, and it was a Titans game, and I jinxed the hell out of us. And I can't do it.
Okay, fair enough.
I think we're gonna win.
Yeah.
But how much I don't know. But I think we're gonna win.
All right, we'll leave it at that. I think we're gonna win too, and I'm gonna make a prediction.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 34-13. 34-13. Miami will win this game, and yeah, and we'll see where it goes from here. Hopefully we can get it together and we can play better. Hopefully we play as at least the defense steps up like they did this past week, and or they have been. They've been improving. Yeah. I just want to see this offense has got to have a little more spark, and maybe this game will give it that spark, and we'll finally see the Miami Dolphins score over 30 points this year. So we'll see. Thanks again, Courtney, and I want to appreciate everybody that joined tonight that's in the chat. I appreciate all of you. I really do. I couldn't do this show without you. Please don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't already. I appreciate it. The likes really help the show a lot. And I forgot to mention earlier, we do have super chats. I don't talk about that too much, but if you're inclined, if you want to do, I know it's too late now, but next show, just remember we do have this, the super chats. If you're inclined to donate to the show, we definitely would appreciate that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see what happens next week. God bless. Peace. Dolphins #1, baby. Uh-oh. Oh, I always do
Yeah,
that, man.
that was funny.
Anyway, yeah. Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate it for you coming on tonight, and I'm looking forward to the show next week and everything on Tuesday. We'll arrange it. You said it's at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That works perfectly. Then I could have this show at 6, and then like I normally do, and then I'll just feed right into your show and
Oh,
remind
perfect.
everybody about your show on Tuesday. So that'll work out just great.
You're still alive.
I am.
You're still.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Let me end this stream.